Black. But
Say it
Black
again.
kids,
Hold on, because you
yeah,
said there's more
white kids.
white kids and
And
Latino in the foster system than there is Black kids.
in
Wow.
LA County in particular. But Black kids, based on their population, are disproportionately represented. There's a higher percentage of Black kids that are in foster care as a percentage versus those who are the other two races I mentioned earlier. And they stay in care longer. And when they age out, like everybody else, they age out mostly with nothing.
Gotcha. Right.
Not even get a high school diploma or a GED. Somehow the system, even at the beginning, we know there are good foster parents out there, but the image and the predominant impact is that, and these kids tell me this, not just one, many of them they still tell me this. When I age out, all my stuff was in a black plastic bag, and I don't get a check from you anymore. You got to go today. And no preparation, no
preparation,
money,
no money,
no
life
anticipation,
skills.
no announcement.
Welcome to A Better You podcast. Let's start today to develop a better you. This podcast takes on life's challenges and obstacles, such as overcoming addictions, behaviors, midlife career changes, to keeping your family together. The show that gives you take-home assignments.
Welcome to the ABU Genius Lab. This is an awesome platform that I created to help people do better in life, relationships, business, and financial planning. My assignment is to challenge people to change, grow, and evolve into the individuals that they were created to be, so that they can be the best version of themselves and live out their dreams with purpose and passion. In the Genius Lab with me today, I'm excited about my guest, who is a very esteemed individual, acclaimed author, world-renowned speaker, educator, philanthropic leader, pastor. He's known for his powerful God-focused messages and uplifting mentorship. His words, hear me, impact millions of individuals around the world. Today, Ed Smith assists business leaders, families, and individuals in building a legacy in which they will be remembered for their God-ordained gifts, talents, and heart. And so with that being said, joining me in the Genius Lab today, an individual who is winning on his mountain, and he loves to see other individuals win. I have with me none other than Bishop Ed Smith. Welcome, 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 my brother.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. It's a blessing to have you. How you doing?
Wonderful, my brother. Doing wonderful.
Amen. You know, we've known each other for now 20 plus years. And I tell you, you have always been a stand-up guy. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Aside from being a great ministry gift, I've been honored to serve on your board. I know you, so share with the audience who you are. Who is Ed Smith?
Well, I'm a guy who grew up in South LA to a wonderful mom who made it work with 7 children she raised by herself on welfare. But I really didn't know how poor I was till I went away to college. And but my mom really sacrificed and gave the best she could and did a really good job. But I decided I wanted more out of life. I always had that in my heart. My mom was always encouraging us to dream and do more. In fact, when I would complain about things, she'll hit me, slap me, go in that corner and read that positive thinking book. I hated it, but I kept reading, and because it made me read, right? I was talking negative, what I can't do, whatever, and it got in my heart. I'm a very optimistic guy. I'm a can-do guy. Figure it out. Seek God for favor, work it out. And so that's how I do my life. It's if it's God, and if God's called me, then I can do it, even though it may take a little longer than what I thought. But that's sometimes how it happens. But met my wife in college, my sophomore year, and then we got married shortly thereafter that. because she wasn't going to have sex before marriage, so I had to make a decision. I got to be with you. I got to marry you. I said, okay, I'll marry you then.
Come on.
And what's interesting, I always wanted to be married and have a family. I know it came from God. Most of my aunts weren't married.
Hmm.
And and most of my uncles, I don't know all my uncles, but the ones that I did know, only one was married.
Okay.
And I know two, maybe one or two that I knew. But one was a player, big time, pretty boy. And he was playing all the time. And another one, he became Muslim. He was married for a bit, then he left his family, became Muslim. But so I didn't see good examples of marriages and families, not even in my neighborhood. My friends, I didn't know if they really had fathers in the home when I think about it. Mostly I saw mothers.
Wow. Yeah.
But I wanted to be married. I wanted to be a good father, and God cultivated that. So when I became a member of Crenshaw Christian Center, I saw a man who loved his wife, embraced
Family.
her,
Yes.
wasn't chasing sisters in the choir, was serious about God. And that was a big opportunity to get modeled and see it modeled before me. And I really owe so much of what God has done in my life to Apostle Patrick A.C. Price.
Yeah. Likewise, he's our common denominator. Yes. And he is, we're actually a part of his legacy.
Exactly.
Right now, being on this platform, we're a part of his legacy. So, we're still sharing and living out principles that he has taught both of us, our families, as we have not only been effective leaders. Of course, you've been in ministry a lot longer than me, so I look up to you as my big brother, but in marketplace ministry as well. With that, let's talk about your background in the corporate arena before you went into ministry.
Yes, I kind of backdoored into business. I wanted to become an architect. I was going to UCLA, and they didn't have a graduate school of architecture, and so I considered University of Chicago, Berkeley. But my now wife, she was a year or so behind me, and so I didn't want to leave her. I thought about it and come back and marry her, but I'm glad I didn't. I probably wouldn't come back. Okay, I was wild still.
Right.
So, but I got exposed. I decided, well, I want to be an architect. I want to be a good one. So I'll learn business and then I'll become an architect later. So I wanted to get a master's degree in business. Changed my life in perspective. Because I'm learning fundamentals about business, how business works, high finance, the financial piece of it, and how to evaluate businesses and accounting and just really powerful in finance. So I got an MBA in marketing, finance, and management science. I was kind of a technical guy. My undergraduate degree is in applied mathematics. So I wanted to get technology based and all that. I blended those things in for my business degree, and the rest is history. I've worked in corporate America. I worked with major companies like Ford Motor Company, Our Nation Company, when I came back to California. And then I was there for some years, and then I decided to join a brother at Crenshaw to start a computer company. We raised venture capital, many of them from people from Crenshaw. They invested in our business and other friends we had. And we're in Culver City, and we opened up a computer store in Torrance, right across the street from the Torrance Del Amo Mall.
Yes.
We had a software company and that deal with developing software for banking and mortgage banking companies. And so that was my big start in entrepreneurship then.
Awesome. So yeah, and I think it's important that the audience, the viewers, understand that before you went in ministry, you were successful in marketplace. You were successful in the business arena. And I think oftentimes people think that every pastor, ascribes to being a pastor because they think that's how you become successful, when truth be told, many of us, like myself, I never aspired to be a pastor, and I was successful in the corporate arena. I worked for a division of AT&T as a sales and marketing trainer. And that's where I started to, evolve on that platform, on that mountain. And then out of nowhere comes this call to ministry. So I wanted us to kind of talk about that to, set the platform for where we're going. Now you're in ministry, and it's interesting because as I'm interviewing you today, you've actually resigned partially, and your successor is your son.
Right.
Let's talk about that. How has that been going?
Going well. I haven't really resigned per se. I'm still part of the church. I'm not the senior pastor. I tell people I'm not retired, I'm refired. Literally, it's not a cliche to me.
Awesome.
I'm fired up.
I'm not retired, I'm refired. I love it.
I planned for this day probably back in 2012. I recall this board meeting that I had when I shared with the board that I'm working on transition, and they got a little concerned. When you leaving? What's going on? I said, no, I'm not leaving. Nothing wrong, no problem. Just want to plan ahead. Because I began to teach as well in our church about legacy. And I saw scripture was so clear about legacy, and God's a legacy thinking God. That's why the whole area of fruitful and multiply is like we're part of the fruit of Dr. Price. So we're multiplying based on the seed planted into us. And so I have spiritual sons and daughters that are doing the same thing, what I've poured into them. All that's part of the multiplication. So to me, it was something that really, really helped me to really grow and develop when I began to see that my son would be the next pastor. I knew it was when God made it clear to me. Actually, I was open to other people as well.
Yes.
I didn't get a clear witness at first. I was open to it, willing to do it, but my heart was to obey God. I want to put it on the altar. I don't want to just let it be nepotism. But it turned out that he was prepared and had a heart. He grew up as a young man that loves the Lord and prayer life, and he would teach in youth ministries and different
He's
churches.
a great guy. I watched him grow up. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's doing well. So it's going well to answer your question. And
Awesome.
the church has adopted, the church is growing, more people are coming. We had the biggest income during the pandemic increase. It was powerful how people gave and been faithful, and now we're getting more people coming. So we opened back up shortly after the California situation began to subside. So we came in and been running ever since.
Speaking of that, after the pandemic, based on everything that's going on in the world of business, from ministry to business, major corporations folding, what do you believe people should be focused on right now, whether that's personal or business or ministry? What should people be focused on right now in this season?
Well, in my thinking, they should be focused on what God has in store for them now and in the future, even if they're older. Because I'm challenging people that are over 60, even 70. You're in pretty good health. Do something with your life that's meaningful. Don't just take a back seat and sit down in a rocking chair. So, but people should be thinking ideally. Now, I'm a different kind of guy. So, I'm not, I have a mindset to just sit back and enjoy and just kind of relax. Because I understand the biblical mandate. People are dying and going to hell every day. People
Yes.
don't know God or don't know how to walk with God and don't realize they have a purpose in life. And God is a friend to them to follow what they were born to do. It helps them in that area. So in my perspective, I got work to do. And so I want to do it at a different pace, nice pace, and I have a good pace, but I want to make sure that I do my part in the next season. So I encourage people to get a sense of their purpose. And the verse that really helped me, I taught on it in our Leadership Institute in Juvenile many years ago, is Philippians 2:13. For it is God that works inside of you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. So much as what I've desired and begin to get into, I just wanted to do it. And I followed my want to. And it was interesting because I learn about hearing God and so forth, but it's not always audible. He puts the desires in our heart.
Yes.
I follow my desires. And that's the dominant way how God leads me. And I follow my want to. And realize I assess
That's
it.
good.
Is it a desire? Is it something already there, been cultivating? So even Nehemiah ProjectLA, we're working with former foster youth in our church many years ago. And I didn't know they were foster youth, come out of foster care, struggling. I said, look, I don't mind helping you all with maybe help buy a laptop, or buy your car, help, with rent. But come on, where your parents at? And they said, Pastor, we don't have any parents. We grew up in foster care. I said,
Wow.
it wasn't on my radar. I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah.
But then I started working with them and really loving them as a father, like one. And so I realized there's a bunch of y'all out there looking at the
Right.
stats. And LA
Right.
is the epicenter of all foster kids, and many of them age out with no place to go. I said, God, those are the orphans you talked about in Scripture. I'm going to do something about that the rest of my life.
Awesome. Let's talk about that. And it's actually, for those who don't know, it's called the Nehemiah Project. It's focused on family and former foster youth. Let's talk about that.
Well, Nehemiah, it was in my heart. I was kind of doing it, kind of developing part-time. When I became bishop in 2016, I wanted to be able to allow people who I was over in different churches and businesses and so forth, and this in relationship and community, is offer something we could, if they wanted to, we can work together on, because I would like to do something together without just having a meeting, need to come, and we'll do that, and we did that. But something that can have more engagement. And I don't want to just come up with something. So although this is in my heart, I was going to let it be kind of my thing, but I didn't want to force it on anybody. And you came to some of those meetings as well. We had about 9 months. We hired a consultant. We had people come in and talk about different tables, between 50 to 60 people every month, just looking at ways how we can work together. So Nehemiah was birthed as a formal organization and name in those meetings. And people, and many of the people that were part of us, they support us at some level today. And we've grown beyond that. So it started off with a desire to collaborate with others in my current community, and not be heavy-handed about it. Just say, hey, this is what we're doing. You got a vision God's called you to do. If there's ways, how I say it. This is my vision. This is the vision God gave you. Can we find a place where we can connect and I'm still doing what God called me to do. You're doing what God's called you to do. Can we work together on some things? And it turns out that Nehemiah is a good way to do that.
Awesome. Let's talk about how and I could be wrong, but the film project with independent filmmakers and how that ties in, because a part of that vision was also to support the Nehemiah Project. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. A couple of years ago, we had launched our first Nehemiah Film Festival, and we plan to do it again. And it was done online. We had a number of films. I don't know how many. It was probably close to 70 or to 100. And quality films and different areas of emphasis. And then we have spoken word and other talents of young people. And the idea was to allow a platform for these young people who really many are in entertainment, and they want to be able to get their breaks, do movies, and both in front of the camera, behind the camera. So we had Keith Davis that really worked with us, and he was like the kind of the moderator for the film festival, and we have other people that were very talented, comedians and so forth. So we plan to offer probably next year, coming up 2024, and it was international. It was very powerful. The people parts of the world that were on that displayed their film and got it recognized.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. What's next for Ed Smith?
Well, what's next for me is to expand Nehemiah. Nehemiah ProjectLA is focused on LA as the epicenter because it's the largest county, but it's also the largest population of kids that are in foster care and out of foster care. And unfortunately, even though there are more white kids in foster care in LA County than Black, and more Latinos than Black, but
Say it again. Hold on, because you said there's more
white kids
and Latino in the foster system than there is Black kids. Wow.
In LA County in particular. But Black kids, based on their population, are disproportionately represented. There's a higher percentage of Black kids that are in foster care as a percentage versus those who are the other two races I mentioned earlier. And they stay in care longer, and when they age out, like everybody else, they age out mostly with nothing.
Gotcha. Right.
I didn't get a high school diploma or a GED. Somehow the system, even at the beginning, we know there are good foster parents out there, but the image and the predominant impact is that, and these kids tell me this, not just one, many of them they still tell me this. When I aged out, all my stuff was in a black plastic bag, and I don't get a check from you anymore. You got to go today. And no preparation, no
No preparation,
money,
no money,
no
no life
anticipation,
skills.
no
The
announcement, man.
system failed them. Yes,
Ah,
the
it's
system failed.
deep. So, but I've learned to recognize, okay, the system is broke. So part of what we do is advocacy, but the focus really is have a place. We have a house in Whittier. We have opened up other houses we're going to be working with. Got a grant to help us do that, and also raising a private funding to do that as well. And it's called the Nehemiah House, and it's a dream for dream chasers. These are people that come out of foster care that are willing to work, put in the work to go to school or get a job training, and so they can live independently on their own.
The program and housing for dream chasers. I love it.
Dream chasers. So the next step is we want to eliminate homelessness among former foster youth in LA County. That's our dream, to get that done in the next 5 or 7 years. We got a funder that's willing to help us do that. They're in
Awesome.
the national footprint. They're believers. They want to work with us, and so they'll be one of the lead supporters. But also, once we get LA County, go to other counties, and then other states and other countries, because this is a global problem.
Praise God. Awesome. For those of you watching right now and you say, hey, I want more information on this, you can find it in the bottom of the bottom tab on how to contact Bishop Ed, find out more about the Nehemiah Project, whether Project LA, and how you can get involved, or if you know someone that needs to connect with his program. Before we close out, my dear brother, I call this the ABU, Wisdom for Life and Business Fill in the Blank questionnaire, question and answer round. So it's just 3 questions, and you can answer with a one-liner, or you can expound on the answer, or you can say pass. Like, for example, do you want Obama back in office? No, I'm just teasing. That's just a joke. Okay, so here's the first question for you. What do you believe is the #1 cause as to why people fail in life or business?
The #1 cause is lack of clarity and recognizing they have a purpose in life, and lack of clarity of what that looks like, and moving forward in it. Because some people have a sense of clarity, and then they lack the confidence to move forward. But if you have good clarity, it's easier to at least take some steps in that direction, because you're not sure, but you can see a little bit, but not a whole lot. I know when I see it. I know when I get there, right?
Right.
That requires some level of steps of faith. But some people stump themselves with clarity. They walk in fear. But I would say overall, it's clarity of what you believe you're called to do.
Okay, this is personal. What has been the greatest hurdle you've had to overcome in life?
Let's see. Because there's been a few. One thing is it takes time, and I'm I won't say impatient, but I want stuff to be done in the timetable I'm thinking about, right?
Right. I can relate. I give you a big amen on that one.
And so I'm thinking maybe a year or two, 2 years, 3 years. It's 6 years. I said, oh God. It was 6.5 years before we got a building of our own, and it took us 3 years to close escrow. That's over 9 years to really feel that we got the place, right?
Right.
So but yet I've learned to flow, because I know God is at work, and not to doubt Him, but the body, the flesh, and then people, what's going on, Bishop? And then when they see stop progress, oh, I knew you can do it, Bishop.
After they jump ship, right?
Yeah, but the other thing is to really manage my close relationships, my relationship with my wife and my children, and stay in connection with them well, and good community, do things together. As my children got older, they have a life of their own like they do today. But we were kind of like on certain Sundays, certain Sunday of the month, we're going to have a family dinner, right?
Right.
And then we go to the restaurant and one or two don't show up. I said, what's going on? Oh, I have something else to do. You didn't have that when we had the appointment set. You knew it's going to be on the second Sunday every month.
Right.
And I'm trying not to get offended, right?
Right.
But they took an opportunity with their friend. So, but it's paid off. It's paid off. And so, even to ask my children to forgive me if I spoke a lot of turn and got on the case about something or whatever I may have done, and just love them and support them.
That's good.
Pray for them always. So that's been the biggest challenge, but also my biggest advancement, because it takes work. It takes work to stay in quality relationship and close relationship, but it's good. It's good. I mean, my kids are good. They love the Lord, but life happens, right? Things happen, and we just work it out. In fact, I tell my wife, and I tell publicly about my wife, I said, look, we may bump heads sometimes. We're going to work it out, and we're going to love working it out.
I love it. We say we're going to love working it out. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Because marriage is work. We always say ministry is spelled W-O-R-K. Marriage and family is capital W, capital O, capital R, capital K. As a leader, and my final question for you, as a leader, what's been the greatest thing you've learned on your journey of faith in ministry, family, business?
That was a good question because it sets up what I wanted to say anyway, is legacy, the value of legacy. The long-term or longer-term vision beyond me, not beyond me to my biological children, but my spiritual children, and the legacy I leave to the world from what I've contributed. And because it's a God idea, God says be fruitful and multiply. And so he doesn't want, because it started, then it dies on him.
Right.
What kind of benefit is that? No, he wants to keep going and growing. So same way as how I deal with obstacles and challenges and delays, I'm thinking legacy.
Yes.
So that's been my biggest learning is to really appreciate legacy, teach on it, model it, and to encourage others to consider it, because otherwise we spend all this resource and time, and then if we haven't planned how to pass it on at some time, or even before we pass it on, people are involved at some level, next generation involved in what we're doing, and don't get space for them, then they've said, I'm gonna do my own thing, forget about you. And we're by ourselves, and doesn't really handoff is not good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, past 2 years, that's been my focus, legacy. Building legacy, because it's about what you pass on, and the impact that we have for generations to come, not just my children, my children's children, and as you said, the world at large. And that is what God expects of us, not just leaders, but each and every one of his children, his sons and daughters, to leave this world better off than we came into it. So with that, Bishop, I am so honored that you would join me on A Better You. I'm going to make sure that people are able to access you by the information in the bottom. Again, thank you so much. Give the Queen our love, and I'll talk with you soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
For sure. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you for tuning into A Better You program with Anthony McFarland.